edition of the PHLY Phillies podcast, and a happy Friday to each and every one of you out there. It is, as always, the PHLY Phillies podcast is broadcasting live. How about that? It's over my shoulder now. The Xfinity Lounge here at the PHLY studios. We are, of course, brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Hello to you all and welcome into a Friday edition. We made it to another end of the work week. It feels like it was a short week because it was. Obviously, most of us were off on Monday. If you weren't, I'm sorry. I wish you were. But most of us had Monday off. We only had one pod so far this week, so we're playing a little bit of catch up today. So we have a jam-packed show here on the PHLY Phillies podcast. Wanted to say hello to everybody in the chat right away. Of course, our friend Peter Tom Willis, Futz, Provolone John. It looks like the names are back again. I don't know what YouTube's doing anymore. I don't even know how YouTube operates. But speaking of YouTube, one of the things that they're doing well and one of the things that we've started here, and I see Futz has already become a part of it, so thank you, Futz, is the Supporters Club. And that is a new thing that we are launching here, not just at PHLY, but across ALLCITY, all of our networks, is the Supporters Club. It's for a way for you to support PHLY directly. So what you're going to do is sign up on our YouTube channel, and you can get in for as low as $5 a month. You'll get a badge next to your name in the live chat. Your comments, when they pop up, your badge is going to pop up. As it says already with Futz's top comment, it'll show you that you are a Super Chat member. You also can add an emoji to your name, and it updates how long you've been a member, whether it's a month or 2 months, 6 months, a year. It literally becomes kind of an unofficial badge of honor for you. And it is a really cool new access feature that, on top of potentially being a diehard, it's something that you can do for a little bit of a smaller price if you're looking to help support PHLY and help you stand out in the chat. It's kind of a fun way for you to get involved. So if you already are somebody who likes to send Super Chats, this is kind of the next step up, and we appreciate you all, whether you are a Super Chat sender or a new supporter club member or a diehard or just somebody who hangs with us on the show, whether you watch it live here at 1 o'clock, whether you catch it after the fact later in the day here on YouTube, or you listen to the audio-only podcast. We really appreciate each and every one of you for being a part of today's show. As always, Tyler Zulli here, Andrew Frazier producing today's show. We'll talk to Andrew in just a little bit. We have a jam-packed show to get to today, so we're not going to waste any more time. We are going to dive right into it here on the PHLY Phillies podcast. And let's start with the big takeaway segment of the day, which is brought to you by our friends over at Xfinity. With Xfinity, the Wi-Fi is booming. And the big takeaway yesterday was a fun day of Philadelphia sports. Yes, of course, at 4 o'clock. By the way, thank you to the MLB schedulers who clearly had no idea that this was going to happen. But a big thank you nonetheless for a 4 o'clock game for the Phillies and the Brewers finale of the three-game series, which basically led us right into the Eagles and Dallas Cowboys on Thursday Night Football, season opener in the NFL, the banner unveiling for the Eagles, which was a fun time, of course. Delayed the game, which for those of us that have to get up early was not as much fun, but the delay in the game was probably even worse. I'd rather a banner raise than a lightning delay. But I will say this, yesterday was a great day for Philadelphia sports. The Phillies take a 2-0 win over the Brewers, and then the Eagles, after a much anticipated banner raise and an hour and 10-minute lightning delay, beat the Dallas Cowboys 24-20. It was a fun day. Really was. And before we get into the X's and O's of this game, this 2-0 shutout win against the Brewers, I just want to bring our second member of today's program right onto the show. That's our producer, our co-host, our friend, Andrew Frazier. Andrew, I had a lot of fun yesterday. I'm sure you probably did as well. You're decked out in your Eagles gear. We're not going to talk too much Eagles, of course. This is a Phillies podcast, but we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the home opener and the season opener a little bit. Man, Jalen Hurts yesterday. I know he only threw for 152 yards, but
can't do that now anymore.
He looked poised, in command, in control. And there was one run in particular that he had where the pocket broke down. He stepped up. He had a linebacker one-on-one, hit him with a cut step, cut back to the middle of the field, picked up the first down. That play right there was like, yeah, that dude's in charge of this game.
Oh, yeah. Jalen Hurts could be on an MVP season. I'm just saying it right now.
A couple of people have said so. Kyle Brandt, I believe, talked about it on
Could be
Good
a hot
Morning
take,
Football.
but I'm telling you right now, that man is on a mission to prove otherwise. A lot of people are naysayers out there.
Gonna have to do it a little differently, right? Not going to throw for 400 every night, but I mean, hey, he four complete passes all night last night.
He was excellent last night. I mean, in his defense, Dak was also good. Their offense looked nice.
CeeDee Lamb dropped a couple of crucial passes.
CeeDee Lamb made some bad mistakes, dropped some bad balls.
Yeah, you just caught a taunting penalty, Provolone John said.
I know. You can't do it anymore.
Wow.
God forbid, you do something like that, you're going to get in trouble.
The Jalen Carter thing is an entirely different conversation that we probably need an hour by itself to talk about.
Spitgate.
So, all right, let's get into the Phillies win because that was the opening band of last night's Philly sports day and the Philly sports night. Ranger Suarez was awesome once again. Now, was Ranger Suarez was he pinpoint sharp? Was he locked in from the get-go? Maybe not, but 6 shutout innings. He gave up 8 base runners, 6 hits, 2 walks. He only struck out 4, but the more important number, the one that matters the most, is the 0 earned runs. It was 6 shutout innings for him, 3 really good innings out of the bullpen with Jhoan Duran, ended up locking things down. And in what was a tight game the entire game, because Freddie Peralta was also really good in this one, he threw 5 scoreless innings. And Andrew, Freddie Peralta now up to 29 consecutive scoreless innings for the Brewers. He's been unreal this year.
Yeah, he really has been.
But Ranger Suarez, I think, is the start of today's show. Again, he gave up those 8 base runners over 6 innings, but to me, what mattered most was he stepped up and delivered when it mattered most. Every single time he kind of worked himself into a jam, he worked himself out of the jam, and it's why he was able to toss 6 scoreless innings. He only had 1-2-3 inning last night, and that was because of the benefit of a double play. So he got the first out, gave up a base runner, rolled up a double play to end the inning. So it was kind of a de facto 1-2-3 inning, if you will. It wasn't retiring 3 straight hitters, but he faced the minimum and was able to get 3 outs. But he only had the 1-2-3 inning last night. But the thing is with Ranger, as is the case more times than not, especially when he doesn't have the strikeouts going, like the last 2 starts, he had 11 strikeouts against the Nationals, and then he had 10 strikeouts the time before against the Seattle Mariners. And when he's sharp like that, you're going to see big-time strikeout numbers. But when he doesn't have the strikeout numbers, he relies on weak contact. He relies on getting in and out of jams. He relies on his ability to pitch backwards and throw strikes and to kind of keep hitters guessing. And he did that yesterday against the Brewers. The Brewers yesterday with runners in scoring position in the game were 0 for 10. Not only did they not produce a run, they didn't have a hit with runners in scoring position. They were 0 for 10. But the number that really jumped out to me last night in Rangers 6 innings specifically, after Ranger Suarez allowed a base runner, so the batters in the rest of the inning after a base runner was allowed had 2 hits, a single and a double. They were 2 for 14 after allowing a base runner. That's what Ranger Suarez held the Brewers to after allowing a base runner yesterday. He was as sharp as he needed to be in the most critical situations. The Brewers had 18 balls put in play yesterday, and 11 of them had expected batting averages of 190 or worse. So even when he was running into some trouble, where he had a runner on second or runners on the corners or whatever it might be, he was limiting hard contact, as he always does. He was sharp on the edges. He was changing speeds, mixing pitches, throwing strikes, and getting out of these jams the way that Ranger Suarez does. He fields his position well. He trusts his defenders. He keeps the ball on the ground. He eliminates hard contact. And it's another start last night for Ranger Suarez where when the odds started to stack against him in any one particular spot, he was as cool, calm, and collected as he possibly could have been. And that's the guy that even though there were some struggles in July and into the early portions of August, that's the guy that you trusted in May and June. That's the guy that you trust down the stretch. And that's the guy that you trust most importantly in a postseason start because he's got ice in his veins and he's done it time and time and time again. Yesterday against Ranger Suarez, the Brewers' average exit velocity was 84.2 miles an hour. They simply weren't getting hard contact. And when they were, it was for outs. They had a couple of balls hit over 95 miles an hour. I believe it was 5 balls in total hit over 95 miles an hour, three of which were outs. And sometimes you get lucky as a pitcher. That's part of the game. Because inversely, sometimes you get unlucky and a guy hits the ball 68 miles an hour and it bleeds into center field and 2 runs scored, like you saw against Aaron Nola yesterday on Wednesday in the first inning. But when Ranger Suarez is on, even hard contact is hit right at guys. And he trusts his defenders. And his defenders, in turn, trust him. And that is a match that works for Ranger Suarez. This is a stat that blew my mind. We knew that Ranger Suarez has been good all year with average exit velocity, with keeping contact to a minimum in terms of hard hit contact to a minimum. He's now in the 98th percentile in average exit velocity across Major League Baseball. He is 8th best in average exit velocity across all of Major League Baseball. Here are the 7 pitchers that are ahead of him in terms of better average exit velo in 2025. Caleb Ferguson, Graham Ashcraft, Phil Maton, Adrian Morejon, Tyler Rogers, Juan Mejia, Orion Kerkering. Do you know what the 7 guys ahead of Ranger Suarez who have better average exit velocities this year all have in common that Ranger Suarez doesn't? Every single one of those pitchers are relievers. Every single one of them. All 7 of those pitchers are relief pitchers. Ranger Suarez is the only starter in that conversation who has limited the average exit velocity to that point where he's in the 98th percentile across baseball. In fact, there are only 4 starters in the top 10 across all of the league in average exit velocity. It's Ranger, it's Ronel Blanco, it's Blake Snell, it's Hunter Brown. Those are the only 4 in the top 15. You start to get to the top 20, you get Tarek Skubal and a couple of other guys who limit hard contact and do a really good job at it. Ranger Suarez stands alone as the best average exit velocity among starting pitchers in all of 2025 across all of baseball. It's been over 300 pitchers who have pitched in Major League Baseball this year. He's 8th in the league and 1st among starting pitchers. That's how good he's been all year at limiting hard contact, at keeping guys off balance, at not having elite level stuff, but knowing how to pitch in spots, working backwards, changing speeds, throwing strikes. And it's when Ranger Suarez is at his most successful, you have absolutely no idea what's coming next. And that is why he has been so good early in the season. It's why he's been good over his last 3 or 4 starts. It's why you trust him into the postseason. Now, Andrew, we played this game about 2 months ago, and I want to play this game again with you because I think it's fun to show you the kind of pitcher that Ranger Suarez is. In typical Ranger Suarez fashion, you never know what's coming next. You never know what's going to be the primary pitch on any given night. So last night, Ranger Suarez threw 89 pitches. What pitch do you think was his most used pitch of the 5 or 6 that he uses on any given night?
His most used pitch.
Yep.
Did he use a changeup?
He only used the changeup 8 times yesterday, which was the 5th most used. 23 curveballs, 23 cutters, 19 sinkers, 16 fastballs, 8 changeups. But because we know what Ranger does, his start before that, he threw 23 curveballs against the Brewers. In his start before that, he threw 17 against the Braves, 26 sinkers, 20 cutters, 17 curveballs, 12 changeups, 9 fastballs, 8 sliders. The start before that, 25 sinkers, 18 curveballs, 16 sliders, 12 cutters, 11 fastballs, 9 changeups. Against the Mariners, 27 sinkers, 21 curveballs, 20 cutters, 13 changeups, 11 sliders, and 9 fastballs. The point of this exercise, Andrew, you never know what this dude is going to throw.
Could be anything.
And that, to me, has been his calling card throughout his entire career, right? That, to me, has been what makes Ranger Suarez as dangerous as he is, despite the fact that his average fastball velocity is 90, 91, 92, despite the fact that he doesn't have a wipeout breaking ball. When he is able to feature 5 or 6 different pitches on any given night and mix and match the order of those pitches on any given night based on the opponent that he's facing, it keeps him really difficult to hit. It keeps hitters off balance and off schedule. And when you, the basic theme about hitting and pitching, it's an adage as old as time. Hitting is timing. Pitching is upsetting timing. And what Ranger Suarez does better than a lot of pitchers across Major League Baseball, and it's why you see his ERA now back under 3 for this season, is upset timing. Because you know that he's going to throw 5 pitches on any given night. You know that he's going to throw, 3 or 4 different pitches with movement. You just don't know which one it's going to be. Do you think it's going to be the cutter on the hands to a lefty? Do you think it's going to be a sinker running away to a lefty? Do you think it's going to be the curveball running away to the cutter moving away from the lefty, running on the hands of a righty? How about the sinker running away from a righty and into a lefty? How about a curveball running away from a lefty? How about a changeup down and away to a righty? You don't know what's coming. That's the best part of what makes Ranger Suarez great. When he's on, and I think Futz makes a great point there. I love that phrase. He's playing chess out there. That's what he's doing. He is at his best when he is able to mix 4, 5, sometimes 6 different pitches on any given night and use them effectively. Like, we gave those numbers, right? On the 29th against the Braves, he threw 4 different pitches double-digit times. Sinker, cutter, curveball, changeup. On the 24th against the Nationals, 5 different pitches, double-digit times. Sinker, curveball, slider, cutter, fastball. Same thing against the Mariners, but a different usage. Sinker, curveball, cutter, changeup, slider. That, to me, is what makes Ranger Suarez so difficult to pick up. Doesn't throw 99. He doesn't have a wipeout breaking ball. He doesn't intimidate you on the mound, but he just goes out there and pitches. He is a pitcher's pitcher, and that's what makes Ranger Suarez stand out to me. And that's the big takeaway of today's show, is that Ranger Suarez and the Phillies took 2 of 3 games from the best team in baseball record-wise, the Milwaukee Brewers, with a 2-0 win. The big takeaway is brought to you by our friends over at Xfinity. The Wi-Fi is booming with our friends at Xfinity. And Ranger Suarez continues an elite-level season, which had a little bit of a blip in the road, a little bit of a hiccup, at the beginning portion of August. But I think he's back. His arm looks rejuvenated. I don't know what changed. But basically, since Zach Wheeler went down, Ranger Suarez has been elite. All right, let's pause on the PHLY Phillies podcast. On the other side, we're going to get into the next conversation piece. So coming up, and we'll have here, take a look, by the way, at what's coming up on the rest of the show. Apologize for not showing you this earlier in the show, but this is what's coming up for the remainder of the show. Is there a platoon in right field? Well, Rob Thompson may have finally spilled the beans as to the answer being maybe it is yes. Let's talk about who's hot and who's not in the National League. We'll do our Crank in the Heat segment around baseball. And then Jon Heyman wrote an article on the New York Post this afternoon about the 25 perhaps biggest free agents in Major League Baseball. And one of those players was Ranger Suarez. And Provolone John asked the question that we've been thinking about for 6 months now, and we're probably going to think about for another 4 or 5 months until he signs here or elsewhere. Is Ranger Suarez back with the Phillies in 2026? It's the PHLY Phillies podcast. We are broadcasting live from the Xfinity Lounge here at the PHLY studios. We're brought to you by our friends over at Bet365, where it's never ordinary at Bet365. A whole lot more to come in the next 40 minutes of the PHLY Phillies podcast. Back after this. All right, so the other day, you're thinking about hanging out with your buddy. I was doing this the other day. I'm with a couple of buddies. We're watching baseball, right? You want to get in on the action. You want to go split screen. You want to watch the Phils and maybe another team, or you want to watch the out-of-town scoreboard. But the setup is a total mess. Don't have this fan fail at your place or at your friend's place. Lagging, buffering, switching between apps, trying to find the game. See, if you call yourself a baseball fan, you got to get Xfinity. It's the ultimate sports destination where you can find the best games and not only your favorite teams, but all of the teams all in one place. And the why you watch, it's because it's next level. It is a perfect fan flex, and it's got all of the action right in your living room. Plus, with Xfinity's best picture and sound with enhanced 4K, it is so clear it'll feel like you're down at the ballpark. Sometimes you might have 4 games going at once, because why not, right? You go multi-box. You do it for college football. You do it for baseball. Playoffs are coming up. You might as well go multi-box split screen. It is an incredible way to watch as many games as you possibly can, and you get real-time notifications and live stats right on your TV. Next game day, make sure that big fan in your life isn't a big fail. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Legal restrictions do apply. Multi-view requires Xfinity 4K capable TV box. All right, let me tell you about our friends over at Bet365, because whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Find out why 90 million users worldwide have joined Bet365, because they live stream 780,000 events over 78 different sports. And you can continue to get in on all of the live game betting as games unfold. You know, your hometown team, your baseball team yesterday, they pretty much were in a dogfight for a majority of the game. It was a low-scoring game. They scratched out a run. Could they have gotten in Could you have gotten in on the live line before it started to drift in Philly's favor? Well, you would have made out a little bit better than closer towards the end of the game. And how about this throughout the NFL season? Because it is back now. If you get in on Sunday Night Football action, they're offering a $365,000 jackpot. So here's what you do. Place a $10 bet on the first touchdown scorer and get a split of $365,000 in bonus bets if you choose the correct player. Now, you think about Monday Night Football, you're watching all the time anyway, right? There is a 50% super profit boost token on same game parlays. And how about this? They're being as generous as they've ever been. New customers right now, download the app, use the code PHLY365, deposit $10, place a bet for $5, and you'll now get $300 in bonus bets whether you win or lose. Use those bonus bets on spreads, totals, futures, player props, and so much more. You find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 and physically located in PA. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast. Tyler Zulli here, Andrew Frazier with us as well, and of course you hanging out with us in the chat. Thank you so much for being a part of today's show. Provolone Jhoan, we're going to get to your question in the fourth segment of today's show about Ranger Suarez. But I wanted to say hello to you, to Futz, to Peter Tom Willis, to everybody who's hanging out with us today. And again, you can become you can become an MVP like Futz did with our supporters club, which is now live and active. Also want to say September is the month for giving, not just with money, but with time as well. And we have partnered here with our friends over at Big Brother, Big Sister for the entire month of September. If you have a couple extra dollars and you're able to donate it, I understand times are tough, but if you do have a couple extra dollars and you're looking for a good cause, Big Brother, Big Sister is an incredible cause that we have partnered with that takes just a moment to help build a lifetime of memories. Whether you want to donate, you can do that in our fundraiser here at the bottom of the YouTube page, or you can donate your time. You can become a big brother or a big sister. Check out bbbs.org for all of the latest information. We love our friends over at BBBS, our friends at Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and this entire month of September, we want to partner with them to help raise money that they can continue 120 more years of charitable donations and making serious differences in the lives of those that need it most. All right, let's get into our big deal segment of the day. Our big deal segment of the day, as always, is brought to you by our friends over at Cherry Hill Mitsubishi. If you're looking for the most affordable 7-passenger SUV in America, cherryhillmitsubishi.com has you covered with the 2025 Mitsubishi Outlander. All right, our big deal segment of the day revolves around the right field position and specifically around Nick Castellanos. It seems to me that Rob Thompson's been asked about this question a while now. It seems like he's kind of danced around the answer. It seems like he's kind of given the politically correct answer, the one that stands up for his teammates. But recently, and this comes from our friend Paul Casella at MLB, recently, Rob Thompson may have finally admitted something I think we were all thinking. Something I think we were all under the pretense was happening already, but he may have finally admitted it, at least for the foreseeable future. This is the quote from Rob Thompson when asked about a platoon in right field. He said, quote, "It looks that way. I mean, you can call it whatever you want, but at this point in the year, I'm going to put out what I think is the best lineup on any given day to win." And I think we've talked about this in the last couple of weeks. The best lineup for the Phillies, especially against right-handed pitching at this current juncture, I think probably does not include Nick Castellanos. When you think about the things that we know Nick Castellanos does not do well, he's not a good defender. He's not a particularly strong base runner. The offense was the lifeblood for him. It was gaps power. It was extra base hits. It was home runs. It was doubles. It was a guy that you could trust when he was on. And there were peaks and valleys for Nick Castellanos really throughout his entire career, but specifically as a member of the Phillies, that are super, super high, the peaks, and super, super low, the valleys. But when he was on, was truly one of the better hitters in all of baseball. Would have a week or 10 days or 2-week stretch where he was basically on fire, and you could count on him for 5-6 home runs, for 8-9 extra base hits, for 10-12 RBI, and a stretch that would carry him when the chasms would come and the chase rates would go up and the strikeouts would happen, and you would see him go, 1 for 15 over a series, as happens with every player, but his highs and lows were pretty drastic. But I think at this point, with the right field position, specifically with Castellanos struggling and Kepler playing a little bit better in the month of August and into September, I think the reality is you're probably going to see Nick Castellanos play right field against left-handed pitching and Max Kepler play right field against right-handed pitching. Now, I would say you're probably still leaning a little bit more Casty than Kepler, and I'm not saying it's exclusively a platoon at this point, because I do believe that Nick Castellanos has had success against right-handed pitching in the past, and we'll get into his splits in just a little bit, which are eerily similar against both righties and against lefties. But I think at this point, there is a likelihood that the situation will be Kepler against righties, Casty against lefties. So in the series against the Brewers, Max Kepler played twice. He started against Freddie Peralta, and he started against Jacob Misiorowski, both right-handed pitchers. Now, against Jose Quintana, the lefty, Nick Castellanos got the start. But here's the reality of the situation is Nick Castellanos has really, really struggled since the start of August. Now, here are Nick Castellanos' numbers, not just for the season, but through the month of August and into September. We'll take a look at his splits in just a little bit, but here's his numbers specifically. In post-All-Star game, so dating back to the middle of July, he's played 36 games. He has 136 at-bats. He has a sub-200 average. He's hitting 199 since the All-Star break with the 199, 253, 309, 562 slash line. The 253 OBP is low. The average, of course, is low, but the slug to me is what really, really stands out. The 309 slug, his extra base hit power has just not been there. He has 4 home runs, only 3 doubles. He's never going to be a triples guy, and that's okay. I have no issue with that. But he only has 7 extra base hits in his last 36 games. And in the month of August, he hit just 180 with 25 strikeouts. Now, in the month of August, he had 14 hitless games. And in that month alone, his season average dropped from 269 to 251, which is something we've talked about with a lot of different players over the stretch of a season. Your average can fluctuate pretty easily in April and in May. You start getting into August and into September and into the crunch of the final 40 games or so of a regular season. To have your average dip 18 points over the course of a month, when you really were playing every day in the beginning of August and then started to see less playing time towards the end of the month, to see your average dip 18 points is a pretty sizable gap. But it's not just the average. His on-base percentage fell 14 points. His slugging percentage, which again to me is the real tell of why he's struggling, he's not driving the ball, fell 30 points from the beginning of August to the end of August, and his OPS fell over 40 points. He also had 8 multi-strikeout games in the month. You saw the 25 strikeouts in the month of August, which was tied for the most in a single month this season. So what's going on with Nick Castellanos? Well, I mentioned earlier, his season splits against righties and lefties are almost identical. There's a little bit more power against righties because of the fact that he's had more at-bats. But I think most of his metrics across the board are down not just this year, but they're down to like 3-year lows for Nick Castellanos as a member of the Phillies. The first year for Casty was a struggle. We all know that he struggled at Citizens Bank Park. He struggled as a whole, really, throughout the course of the regular season. Had a much better 2023, was an all-star in the first half of the year. I thought had a more consistent 24, even with the chase rates and whiff rates down. This year, he started off well and has really struggled basically since the All-Star break. But his metrics across that 3-year window are pretty much across the board at lows. His average exit velocity of 87.6 is a 3-year low. His .431 expected slug, 3-year low. His hard hit percentage is 33.8%. That is a 3-year low as well. And as a member of the Phillies, he's on pace for his second fewest doubles, home runs, and RBI as a member of this team. And the thing with Nick Castellanos, to me, that has always been his success point was his ability to have extra base hits and have a huge number of them because of a high doubles count. You know, if he's going to hit 20 to 25 home runs, he also is expected to go 30-plus doubles. Well, in 2022, which was the struggle regular season, he had 40 extra base hits. That's his Phillies low. In 23, he went up to 68 extra base hits. There's a reason he was an all-star in 2023. Last year, took a step back, but it was still a really respectable 57 extra base hits. And so far, now as the calendar has flipped to September, he's only at 42. And my expectation is he's not going to get too many more because of this perceived platoon that we're probably going to see over the final 22 days or 22 games of the season. So here's the question that we've pondered about Nick Castellanos for really 3 years now, or 4 years as a member of the Phillies, but really over the back half of 23, the back half of 24, and now the back half of 25, which is starting to become a recurring trend for Castellanos. Nick Castellanos is only seeing 46% of pitches inside the zone, which is right around his career average, which is something that pitchers specifically do, purposefully do, because they know that he's a guy who's willing to go outside the zone to try to chase pitches. The problem is he now has a 40.5% chase rate this year, which is the second worst of his career. His chase rate looked great in April and May. It looked like there was a turnaround from him. There was one from Trea Turner, which has been sustained. The team as a whole looked like they were chasing less, whiffing less, and had a better approach at the plate. Nick Castellanos has reverted back to a bad trend of whiffing and or at least chasing quite a bit. And part of this is due in part, I think, because he now has a 55.4% first pitch swing percentage. He's going up there hacking. That's the most first pitch swings by percentage that he has had over the course of his career. He's going up there hacking. And he's talked about this before. He doesn't want to be too much of a thinker up there. And I don't mean that as a negative. That's just the way that Nick Castellanos has approached his game throughout his career. He's been successful in his career. And we know that sometimes he goes through ruts, he goes through valleys, but he's picked himself back up more times than not with successful series, with successful weeks, with successful months. I think that that's been his MO pretty much the entirety of the season. But at this point in 2025, what we've seen throughout the course of the year is kind of a trend we've seen over the back half of the last 3 seasons. This is the heat map of Nick Castellanos' pitches he's seen this season so far. Now, as a right-handed hitter, that red part is down and away. Almost 30% of the pitches that Nick Castellanos is seeing this season are down and away. Almost 45%, in fact, 43% to be exact, are down below the zone in general. Pitchers know what they want to do with Nick Castellanos, which is they want to get him flailing over the plate, being uncomfortable with breaking balls down and away, and trying to get him to chase over top of sliders and curveballs and for lefties, changeups down and away. Almost 600 pitches Nick Castellanos has seen in that down and away metric. And then if you put the two together just below the zone, you're talking about over 800 pitches this year have been out and below the zone. The pitching, the idea of how to attack Nick Castellanos is to not throw him a strike. That's kind of been the MO throughout his career, but specifically to get him to dive down and away on a breaking ball. Nick Castellanos this year against right-handed pitchers has seen 673 breaking balls. It's almost 50% of his at-bat or his pitches seen against righties. It's 49.7%. On breaking balls against righties this year, Nick Castellanos is hitting .216 with a .383 slug, a 36% whiff rate, and his average exit velocity is 84 miles an hour. So not only is he swinging and missing a lot on breaking balls from right-handed pitchers, the balls that he is putting in play are not hit particularly hard. His hard hit percentage is down on those pitches as a result. And I think in total, pitchers have an idea of how they want to attack Nick Castellanos, especially right-handed pitchers. And for the most part this year, they're doing a pretty good job of getting away with it. It's really not hard to figure out how pitchers are attacking him. Down and away, breaking ball, breaking ball, breaking ball. And again, I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. If I were a pitcher and Nick Castellanos walked against me twice in a game, oh well, okay, no big deal. He didn't chase in that particular night, on that particular at-bat, on that particular pitch. But that would be the formula that I would take for success against Nick Castellanos, and a lot of righties have done it. And it's kind of why we're getting to this point, and it's why it's the big deal segment of the day, that we talked about a platoon in left. We talked about a platoon in center. We've talked about a platoon at second. The one position I think a lot of us did not expect to have a platoon, because Nick Castellanos has been a stalwart of playing almost or actually playing every day over the last couple of seasons, was in right field. And now we're seeing that shift into being a platoon with Nick Castellanos and Max Kepler, which we did not expect, A, because of the consistency of playing every day from Nick Castellanos, and B, because Max Kepler was pretty much left to be on the fringe of DFA'd as recently as like early August at the trade deadline. And now into the beginning portion of September, as we get to the final 22 games of the regular season, there's a very real chance that center field doesn't have a platoon. Maybe even left field doesn't have a platoon, but right field does. Not something that we expected. But here we are having the conversation because of the struggles of Nick Castellanos in the second half of the season. All right, that's our big deal segment of the day. It's brought to you by our friends over at Cherry Hill Mitsubishi. If you're looking for the most affordable 7-passenger SUV in America, cherryhillmitsubishi.com has you covered with the 2025 Mitsubishi Outlander. Shop online 24/7 at cherryhillmitsubishi.com. All right, on the other side, we're going to get into our Crank in the Heat segment, which, of course, is our check of the National League standings. We're going to talk about what the wild card looks like, where the Phillies fare after this week's series victory over the Brewers, heading into a series against the Miami Marlins. And we'll take a look around the rest of the National League, and then we'll wrap up today's conversation kind of back where we started with a conversation surrounding Ranger Suarez. It's the PHLY Phillies podcast. We're broadcasting live from the Xfinity Lounge here at the PHLY studios. We are brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We'll be right back after this. All right, if you're looking for the most affordable 7-passenger SUV in America, of course, head on over to cherryhillmitsubishi.com because they've got you covered with the 2025 Mitsubishi Outlander. Take advantage of their 0% for 60-month APR financing for PA residents only. That's right. That is 5 years of 0% APR financing if you live in PA. Or take home a 2024 Mitsubishi Mirage with payments starting as low as just $55 a week with zero down retail. Let me tell you, my car is starting to creep up in the mileage, and I know that I gotta start looking, and I've been looking around. You're not getting anything for $55 a month. This is an incredible offer. That offer, of course, is not valid with trade-in. Offer is subject to credit approval by a third party. Not all applicants may qualify. So combine those numbers with the best warranty in the automotive business, which is 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain, and 5-year, 60,000-mile bumper to bumper, and you've got deals that you cannot beat. Stop in today, tell them the PHLY sent you, and receive a $100 restaurant.com gift card just for taking a test drive or completing a trade-in appraisal. Listen, I know people buy Mitsubishis elsewhere. I just don't know why. Drive home today in a new Mitsubishi, just minutes from all bridges, or available 24/7 at cherryhillmitsubishi.com. All right, game time. Yep, you know it's game time. Well, there was a game last night. There was actually 2 games yesterday. One was at home. And if you're looking for the best deal in all of ticketing, of course, you want to head on over to the Game Time app because they give the advantage back to the fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. It's incredibly easy to use, and the Game Time guarantee means that you can trust you're going to get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. Plus, your fees are always included, so you don't have to worry about what are the hidden costs. What am I going to pay after I put my credit card information in? You know exactly what you're going to pay up front. And with the playoffs coming around the corner, just a couple of days left in September, a couple of weeks, I should say, and the postseason right around the corner, if you're looking to get in on the secondary market of those postseason tickets, Game Time is going to give you incredible deals, zone deals, the lowest price guarantee, and you're going to get seat views of your seats so you know exactly where you're going to sit before you head on down to the ballpark. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, use the code PHLY, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. All right, welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast. Tyler Zulli, Andrew Frazier, and you. Hello to everybody in the chat. Thank you so much for being a part of today's show. A lot of love for Harrison Bader in the chat, and quite frankly, there should be. He's been excellent. We talked about him on Tuesday's video. We talked about him on the pod earlier last week. He's been really, really good. And I think that there's just been an unbelievable presence that we did not expect, or at least I did not expect from Harrison Bader. All right, let's get to our Crank in the Heat segment, which is brought to you by our friends over at Ace Hardware and Ace Hardware Home Services. Head on over to acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project today. Of course, this is our postseason pennant push. We check at the National League standings. We see who's leading the divisions, the wild card teams, who's still in the hunt, and we talk about who's been hot and who's been not. And there you see it. The Phillies inch a little bit closer to the Milwaukee Brewers. I still don't think the Phillies are going to catch the Brewers over the next, 20 some odd days. Likelihood is that the Brewers are going to be the 1 seed. But the Phillies now have a real path to being the 2 seed and getting a bye in the first round of the playoffs. They're now 3 games ahead of the LA Dodgers for that second spot in the postseason and as the division winners. And I will say this. I think the Phillies season, both in the National League East and in to think about the 2 seed, really comes down to 7 games in the next 12 days. The Phillies have 4 games at home with the Mets after this series against the Marlins. They have a 6-game lead on the New York Mets in the National League East. Later, a week later, not this Monday coming up, but next Monday, they have 3 games in LA with the Dodgers. They're currently 3 games up in the standings for the 2 seed. Andrew, I know there's still 20 some odd games left to play in the Phillies season, but it really does feel to me like those 7 games, the 4 against the Mets and the 3 against the Dodgers, pretty much are the defining 7 games of the rest of the season.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, it's directly like one-on-one. You're playing the teams that are chasing you. You have an opportunity to put some serious separation against the Mets. You're up 6. You have a chance that, gosh, you could be up 10. I don't think they will be, but you could be up 10 by the time that series is over. You're up 3 on the Dodgers. You could put some serious distance between you and them for the 2 seed. They're 2 really good teams. They're 2 teams that are very likely going to make the postseason, and they're 2 teams that you could see in either a wild card round or a divisional series in the postseason. But you have an opportunity at hand over the next 12 games to really drastically put some space in between the 2 teams that are probably the most directly chasing you in the postseason.
Yeah, it's 100%. Those are the biggest ones that you need to win. So you need to win those series because you want to create that distance. We're all saying how important it is for them to get the 2 seed going into the playoffs, into the postseason. If you want to achieve that goal, that's where it starts, winning those games.
You know what I would love to see is the Friday, Saturday, Sunday series against the Minnesota Twins to end the season. You know who I would love to start those 3 games if they can make it happen? Aaron Nola, Taijuan Walker, and Walker Buehler. Because that means you got nothing really to play for.
Yeah.
That means you've solidified yourself as the 2 seed, as the National League East winner, and you can allow your 3 postseason starters, Sanchez, Suarez, and Luzardo, to get ready for their postseason starts.
Yeah.
I think that would be, if you could get into that series and not have to worry about locking up a 2 seed or locking up the division, that would be so paramount to your postseason success and setting yourself up in a way that is the best outcome for you, especially if you can get the 2 seed and then give those guys significant rest and get them fully ready for a postseason series where you might play the Mets or you might play the Cubs or you might play the Padres, who are starting starter 3 or starter 4, and you get Sanchez. The other thing I wanted to get into is the Mets have an opportunity this weekend to really bury the Cincinnati Reds. So the Mets and Reds have a series this weekend, a 3-game series. They're now 5 game back of the Mets. The Giants, in fact, have left them. We'll talk about them in just a second. The Reds have lost 7 of their last 10 games. They were 67-63. They are now 70-70. And the Mets have an opportunity to really stamp their postseason run with this kind of pushing the Reds out of this postseason conversation. But I will say this, man. We've talked about strength of schedule before, Andrew, on this show with the Mets. The last series that they just played was against the Tigers. They took 2 of 3 in Detroit against the Tigers. It was the start of a 16-game stretch against teams that are either currently in the postseason or in the hunt. 3 in Detroit, 3 in Cincinnati, 4 here in Philly, 3 against the Rangers, 3 against the Padres. That's a gauntlet, man, for a team that has, they have a nice little comfortable lead against the Giants now, but they want to keep that lead and perhaps even jump the Padres. That is a gauntlet of a 16-game schedule. They started it off well by taking 2 of 3 from Detroit. In Detroit, who's a really good team and play really well, especially at home. That's a good start. The other team that I want to get into is the San Francisco Giants, who you saw who did leap the Cincinnati Reds. I kind of wrote the Giants off. They were playing some really bad baseball. They weren't scoring runs. Their pitching wasn't very good. But all of a sudden, the Giants have kind of risen from the dead. They've won 9 of their last 10. They are that first team out of the wild card spot. They swept out the Rockies. They took 2 of 3 from the Orioles. They swept out the Cubs. They took 2 of 3 from the Brewers. So sure, you can say, yeah, they took 5 of 6 against bad teams. O's are playing a little bit better in the second half. Rockies stink. They got nothing to play for. But they swept the Cubs, who were in prime playoff position, and they took 2 out of 3 from the Brewers, who are the best team in the National League record-wise, and I believe are the best team in all of baseball record-wise. And in the last 12 games for the San Francisco Giants, since the start of the Brewers series, they have scored 106 runs. They averaged 8.8 runs per game. They had double-digit runs scored in 5 of their last 12 games. Don't write off the Giants just yet. They are still outside of the wild card looking in, but they're playing some of their best baseball of the season at the right time. Do I think they catch the Mets? I don't. I think the playoffs are going to be the 3 teams that are in the wild card spot right now. I do think it's going to be the Cubs, the Padres, and the Mets. But the Giants are playing some really good ball right now. The other thing that I wanted to take a look at, Andrew, if I had to ask you, how many teams do you think in Major League Baseball have winning records against teams that are 500? I was actually kind of surprised at the number.
I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago.
We did, and the number's risen drastically since then.
Really?
Yeah.
Because it was like really small.
It was like 4 or 5,
It was like 4 or 5 teams. What are we up to, like 8?
It's 9 now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to give you the postseason teams, the teams that are currently in postseason play, and I want you to say yes or no. Do you think they have an above 500 record against teams over 500?
Let's do it.
The New York Mets.
Do they have an above 500? No.
They do. They're 1 game over 500, 34
1 game.
and 33.
Okay.
How about the San Diego Padres?
Yes.
They do not.
Wow.
39
okay.
and 41, 2 games under. How about the Chicago Cubs?
I want to say yes.
They do not. 37
okay.
and 40.
I'm gonna just whatever I'm thinking, I'm just gonna say the opposite.
Now, I think it's fairly easy, these 3. Dodgers, Phillies, Brewers.
Yes.
All yes.
Yeah.
There's a reason they're winning their division, right? Brewers have the best record in baseball against teams over 500. They are 45 and 33. 12 games over 500 against teams over 500.
Wow.
So was it a great series win against the Brewers? 100%. Are the Brewers real? Yes, the Brewers are real. Like, I've seen a lot of people on Twitter. I know VG was like, I'm not scared of them. My buddy Andrew Salchunas at 97.5 The Fanatic said not worried about them. I know a lot of Phillies fans have said not worried about the Brewers. This is still a really good Brewers team.
Yeah, I think why people have that feeling towards them is because they have been perennial. We get to the playoffs, but never make any noise in the playoffs.
Fair point.
So
Do you think it's also because they don't have like a bona fide superstar? Like, I think Jackson Chourio is going to be that guy one day.
Sure.
And Christian Yelich used to be that guy.
Yeah.
But is it like, do you think it's because they just are a group of, it's a good 9? Like, they just fundamentally play well?
It could be. It could be that.
Do you also think I also think there's a part because it's like, it's Milwaukee.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's just a thought of like, oh, it's not LA, it's not Boston, it's not Philly.
They're just not like crazy crushers, right? Like They're not like big hitters. They're just great contact guys who are consistent and they can get guys on base and they can score runners in position. They're just really good at baseball fundamentals.
Well, and their 555 runs against is the 5th best in baseball. Like, their pitching's been good all year.
And their pitching has been
we talked about Peralta
fantastic.
before the show. Like, Peralta, or during the show, 29 straight innings without a
crazy.
run. He's unreal.
Yeah.
I know Mizorowski's stuff is good. His numbers aren't as good, but like, that's a guy you don't want to have to face in a playoff game if you don't want to. Quintana has owned the Phillies. We did a pretty significantly lengthy segment about him on Wednesday.
Yep.
And he gave up the home run to Weston Wilson, so his 6+ is going to look a little worse because he gave up 3 runs. But he pretty much shut them down for a majority of the game before that 3-run home run. All right, let's go to the American League really quickly.
Sure.
Seattle Mariners.
Seattle Mariners, I want to say yes. I'm going to say no.
You should have stuck with your gut. Yes.
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
How about this? I'm going to tell you this. All 6 American League playoff teams currently have above 500 records of winning records against 500 or better teams.
Oh, wow.
The Mariners are 1 game over. The Red Sox are 4. The Yankees are 5. The Astros are 3. The Tigers are 4. The Jays are 6.
Oh, wow.
But they're all somewhere between 1 and 6 games. The Brewers definitively, that 12 games is the most by a lot.
Oh, yeah.
The Phillies now, mind you, are 7 games better than they're 40 and 33. That's tied for the second best.
That's great.
The Phillies and Dodgers are both 7 games over 500. It's tied for the second best record or the second best winning percentage against teams over 500. So, like, the argument early in the year was like, oh, the Phillies only beat bad teams. That's not true.
That's not true.
Phillies beat good teams and have done it pretty consistently. Now, the Mets have beaten them up, no question about it. But the Phillies have won multiple series against the Cubs. They won a series against the Dodgers. They swept out the Mariners. They've won series against the Padres. They won a series against the Reds, I believe they won a series against the Reds, right? Took 2 or 3 earlier in the week. They swept out the Rangers. They've won they won a series, lost a series against the Blue Jays, won a series against the Tigers, right? Like the point is like the Phillies win games against good teams, and they showed that by the fact that they are 40 and 33. Answer your question, John Peace. How is it calculated? I believe that number is calculated about when you play them. So it's not like for example, if a team is 3-0. I believe that answer is they're over 500 against that team, right? The team's over 500. Now, the Braves, for example, right? Like, they're 14 games under. If they would have, they started the year bad, but they would have started well and then played poorly, I believe it would have been calculated when you played them. So the Phillies have played 73 games against teams with a winning record. I believe that to be the case. I will follow up, but I believe that to be the case. All right. On the other side, very quickly, we're going to get into Jon Heyman's article talking about where we think Ranger Suarez might land as part of the 25 most important free agents down the stretch. We have one final break. That was Cranking the Heat, brought to you by our friends over at Ace Hardware and Ace Hardware Home Services. Head on over to acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project. It's the PHLY Phillies podcast. We're broadcasting live from the Xfinity Lounge. We are brought to you by our friends over at Bet365, and we will be right back after this. All right, when you think about America's all-time best-selling SUV, of course you think about the Ford Explorer. Why? Because it's the legacy of family trust and performance. And now with the Explorer, they offer incredibly comfortable 3-row seating for up to 7 passengers, which makes it a great vehicle for both your family road trips, going to practice, and you got to take half the team, right? You're the chauffeur for the day. Drop-offs at school, whatever it might be. 7 passengers are going to fit very, very comfortably in the Ford Explorer. They come in both rear-wheel drive and intelligent 4-wheel drive for better traction and control. And it comes with a choice of 3 different powertrains, including a hybrid for better fuel economy. EcoBoost, kick things up to 400 horsepower in the ST trim, and the hybrid model that we just referred to. How about 500 miles of driving range, which is great, which offers a great balance of power and economy. But it's not just what's under the hood. It's how about what's inside the vehicle. Sync 4 infotainment center with a large touchscreen and voice command. How about an incredible 87.8 cubic feet of cargo space with the rear seats that fold down for a little bit more. Those rear seat passengers seats can come in captain's chairs for extra comfort and accessibility. Standard Apple CarPlay and Android Auto across all trims. It is one of the most sleek, stylish, comfortable, and roomy SUVs in all of America. It's built for families who are ready for adventure. It's a true do-it-all SUV. For more information, visit your local Ford store today. All right, let me tell you about our friends over at Ace Hardware and Ace Hardware Home Services. Whether it's something small like an outlet or something significant, plumbing, heating, cooling, electric, don't get left in the cold, or in this case, maybe the hot, whatever it might be. Don't let your appliances run stale. Ace Hardware is the team that brings the helpful hardware folks feel right to your front door, all the way from Philly to the Jersey Shore. They bring experience, understanding. They offer free estimates on equipment installation and replacements with trusted advisors and options that are best suited for your home and your budget. It's service you can trust and satisfaction guaranteed with Ace Hardware Home Services. You know you're getting a local team. They live and work in your community, and they want to make sure that you and your home and their community stay running all year long. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project. All right, so Jon Heyman puts out this article in the New York Post. Unfortunately, it is a paywall article, which most things are nowadays, and I get it. But he puts out this article in the New York Post. It's the top 25 free agents, and he talks about Kyle Tucker, Pete Alonso, Gleyber Torres, and of course, Ranger Suarez's name comes up. Because Rangers an interesting dynamic, and we spent a lot of time thinking about what Rangers' free agent market is going to look like. So I put together a 3-team list. These are the 3 teams that I think are the most likely teams to sign Ranger Suarez this offseason. Excuse me. At number 3, I believe the 3rd most likely team to sign Ranger Suarez are the Phillies. I think the Phillies will look to retain Ranger Suarez, knowing that Zach Wheeler is on the 60-day IL now, knowing that Zach Wheeler still wants to pitch, but has a finite timeline. He's made 2027 very, very clear, knowing that there may not be a 2027, so you may actually only get one more year of Zach Wheeler. Who knows, right? And that not having a 2027 is speculation for the end of the CBA, and we've talked about that plenty. But I do still think that the Phillies are going to be very much contenders in this conversation. Do I think the Phillies end up re-signing Ranger Suarez? I still lean no. But I think with this development with Zach Wheeler's health, knowing that Aaron Nola has really struggled this year, knowing that Jesus Luzardo is on the final year of arbitration next year, not having a true grasp on when Andrew Painter is going to become a member of the rotation after his struggles this year in AAA, I do still believe that there is a plausible outcome for Ranger Suarez to be a member of the Phillies in 2026 and beyond. Again, I don't think it's the most likely outcome, but I do think there is still a chance. Number 2, I think, is the Boston Red Sox. Now, the Red Sox reset monetarily by getting rid of Rafi Devers back in like May, and really kind of were able to get off that significant contract. I think that they are going to be big players in free agency this year, or this offseason. I think that they're going to be big players in the pitching market specifically because I think their young core of players, and I know Roman Anthony went down and has an oblique strain. Don't know when he's going to come back, but his long-term future is very, very bright. They've got 3 outfielders they really like in him and Jhoan Duran and Wilyer Abreu. See what happens with Alex Bregman. The rumor is that he's going to opt out, but that doesn't mean that they don't re-sign him long-term. But I think the Red Sox are going to have significant money to spend this offseason. And I do believe that the Red Sox will be looking for pitching. And I think that, to me, the Red Sox are probably number 2. And that brings us to number 1, and I think it's been mentioned in the chat a couple of times. It's a pretty obvious one. It's a team with a young core of offensive players who kind of underproduced together this year, who really need some help in the starting rotation. It's the Baltimore Orioles. I think the Orioles' young core will be fine. I think this was a weird year. I think that it was a combination of like everybody kind of underperforming all at once, with the exception of a couple of guys. I think they're going to be fine. Whether they lock up Basayo to a long-term deal, they still have Rutschman at least for now. Gunnar Henderson, I think, is a superstar in the making. I think that they're going to get some contributions from some of their younger guys. That offense, I think, is going to be fine. The pitching staff is a mess. It's been a mess pretty much all year, and it's a huge reason as to why they are not in postseason contention. They have scored 612 runs this year, which is better than almost every team outside of the postseason looking in, with the exception of the Rays, who are playing in a Little League field, and the Athletics, who are playing in a Little League field. They've scored more runs than every team in the American League postseason outside of those 2 teams on the outside looking in. The issue is they have given up more runs than every team in the outside looking in, with the exception of the Athletics themselves, who have given up 726 runs, which is the 3rd most in all of baseball. Of course, the Rockies are the worst. I think the Orioles need starting pitching in a bad way. I think the Orioles are going to be prime candidate number 1 to spend some money on Ranger Suarez this offseason. And that'll do it for today's PHLY Phillies podcast. Big thank you to everybody who was in the chat today, whether it was Molly and Barkley's Life, Futz, John Peace, K-Red, Slem. Who else was here earlier today? Peter Tom Willis. Who else did I miss? Provolone John. Everybody that was in the chat. Thank you so much for being here. Really, really appreciate you for hanging out on the show. Again, you can join our supporters group, and much like Futz did, our supporters community, for as low as $5 a month. It started off recently. You can get those stickers. You can get a timeline. You can get that MVP welcome. And you can do that all right here on YouTube. You don't have to worry about allphly.com and things like that. Big thank you to you all for being here today. A big thank you to Andrew Frazier for producing and co-hosting today's show. We will see you. Oh, right. By the way, thank you, Andrew. Really appreciate that. Thank you for being on top of your game. Want to make a note before we get out of here. Beginning on Monday, we have some really cool things coming up on Monday, including a brand new show, which I'm not going to spoil. We have some really cool things coming up on Monday. But because of that, we have to facilitate a time change of the pod. So beginning on Monday and for the rest of the year, with the exception of playoff postgame shows, the PHLY Phillies podcast is going to be live at 12 o'clock beginning on Monday. We're moving up an hour to facilitate some really cool things that are coming, but it's going to be at an hour. Me and Andrew still, I think, for now. We'll figure that out. We'll get there. But hopefully you can join us at 12, but it's just an hour time change to facilitate some new really cool things coming down the pipeline beginning on Monday. So until that time, thank you to Andrew. Thank you to you. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. Enjoy your weekend. Have a wonderful weekend. I know the weather's supposed to be a little bit iffy, but I hope you have a great weekend nonetheless. Enjoy college football, the Phillies and the Marlins, everything else around the league, and a stress-free NFL Sunday. Because the Birds are 1-0, you don't have to worry about Sunday. Just enjoy your fantasy football and watch the games for fun. Until that time, we'll talk to you on Monday at 12 o'clock right here on the PHLY Phillies podcast. We are broadcasting live from the Xfinity Lounge. We are brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We'll talk to you on Monday at 12 right here on the PHLY Phillies podcast. See you.
We all silly like the mayor.
I kind of figured it.